Hi everyone, and welcome to this Keptn community meeting. Today we again have a very packed agenda, so let's jump right into it. Before I hand over to discuss new issues and PRs, I just want to highlight that we have two meetups coming up. First meetup is already today, so I think you should be able to see my screen, so I can highlight this here. First meetup is today. Both of them are virtual meetups, so they are happening in real life, but they are online. So the first one is hosted and organized by the Cloud Native and Kubernetes Manchester group, and the second one is next week. I think right before, one day before our community meeting, or maybe around the same time. And this one is organized by the All Things Kubernetes Washington DC online group. So for both meetups, there are still some slots open. So if you want to join, click on the link here and you will find the invite. Another thing I want to highlight again, we are listed on goodfirstissue.dev, or we have also a link here. So if you want to contribute, if you want to start with a nice and probably more easy first issue with Keptn, you can join us here and you can contribute to Keptn here. And one last thing, we have opened up a Keptn mailing list. So you can sign up here for the Keptn mailing list. It's just one click where you can join and you will get informed about ongoing events, new webinars, and these kind of things. So if you want to join us here, you can also post questions in there. But of course, we still have the old and traditional ways of interaction, like Slack and these kind of things. So if you want to stick with Slack, it's totally fine. But if you want to join us here, we are happy to see you joining the Keptn mailing list. So with that, I think I'm already handing over to Christian, I guess.
Yeah.
And I will stop my screen share.
Yeah, thanks.
Here you go.
So my first two issues are kind of related to, well, Travis CI. So we've introduced Angular unit tests, and I'm running them now using Travis CI. The same is true for K3S or keys. We've added integration tests for Keptn quality gates on keys, and they're also running on Travis CI. The result is that we broke the master branch for a couple of days, and I think it's finally working now, because it seems the unit tests for Node.js, these are the ones for Bridge, are now working. The ones for Go have been working all the time. And basically, we're now doing tests on Minishift, keys, micro Kubernetes, and Minikube. I think one of the next tasks will be to pick a couple versions that we don't need to test on, because kind of some of these tests are kind of redundant because we're testing keys in the same version as micro Kubernetes. We'll see. If you're interested in the actual code that has been done, or in the Travis CI script that has been done for that, please take a look at these two pull requests. Is there any questions on those two? All right. The next,
maybe one question.
Yeah.
Do you know how much memory are used for a keys installation? So
very lightweight, as far as I can tell, but I don't have a number in my head.
But it's not a problem to execute it on a local machine.
On a local machine, keys is very easy to run. On Travis, you have like either 6 or 8 gigabytes of memory limit, and I'm able to run quality gates fine. So that nice. Should work. The full installation does not work on keys on Travis because of a memory limit, I think. But it's not easy to debug, so we only have integration test for quality gates. Okay, related to that is also the next one. I've added docs for installing Keptn on keys. It's this pull request, which still I think needs one more review, please, if any one of you has time. I have two things to show here, because with that pull request, we also kind of took a look at the quick start for our current develop branch because it was full with instructions for all different cloud platforms, and we've reduced them now to Google Kubernetes Engine, as that's the one that we offer, or that we have a partnership that you can apply for a credit here. And Keys, as that, in our opinion, is the one that's the easiest to install. So that would be the instructions for Keys. It's really just a curl command to download Keys, specify a version that you want, specify some other parameters, and you're good to go. So it's actually that line and then this line, and you should have a ready to go Kubernetes cluster that you can install Keptn on.
But still, there is the link to the other cluster setups.
Yeah.
Right.
The other options are now hidden here, and those are, as always, in the full installation guide, which we still can recommend to anyone that wants to do, to install it on different platforms, or that wants to go the full tutorial.
Christian, can you please go one step back, please?
Yeah.
So what I read before in the Keys instructions is that you do not install traffic. How does this work? So then you don't have an ingress controller. Can you then choose ingress, or can you then use an Kubernetes ingress?
Well, if you install an ingress controller like we do with Nginx ingress, it just works fine.
Okay.
The problem with traffic or Keys in that matter is that Keys only has one public IP that is able to route the traffic into the cluster, and traffic would block or would use port 80. And if you install a second ingress that also wants to expose on port 80 via load balancer, it will not get an IP address and it will be stuck in the pending state. So if you have no deployed traffic added here, which is also described here in the text, if you have that added, the IP and the port is free for the load balancer, and you can install any ingress or any load balancing tool that you want. So Istio will work, Nginx ingress will work. I guess Linkerd would also work for Keys, obviously not for Keptn, but yeah.
Okay, thank you for the explanations.
You're welcome. Any more questions regarding Keys? All right.
Not regarding Keys, but I will give you the review on Friday.
Thanks. So the last one is also kind of related to ingresses and stuff. So in the installer, we have like an if-else block where we check this ingress install option for reuse or not reuse. The idea was that we do some sanity checks if Istio Ingress Gateway, Istio Pilot, Citadel, and Sidecar Injector are available in the Istio system namespace. But that kind of caused some problems with Istio version 1.5 and newer, because Istio Pilot was no longer a deployment and they switched to Istio-D. So my thoughts on that was to reduce the check to what is actually required for Keptn to work, and that would be the Istio Ingress Gateway in the Istio system namespace, because that's what we have as a reference in our virtual services. And I also took the time to take a look at Nginx, and for Nginx, the check was already reduced to a very bare minimum of checking if the Nginx ingress controller is available in the ingress Nginx namespace. So with those changes, actually that changes only some printfs, but with the change up here, Keptn should work with Istio 1.5 and potentially also Istio 1.6 if you have it pre-installed and you use the ingress install option reuse.
Just a quick question, because I right before the meeting I got an email from a customer that they have a problem with exactly this part. They are having Anthos deployed, and Anthos is a service mesh on GKE, and below Anthos there is Istio, and this means Istio is pre-installed, and they are using the reuse option. But the installer fails because the installer assumes that Istio Citadel is there, but it's not available. And is there a way that we can bypass the check?
Well, maybe not bypass, but obviously one could create fake deployments in the namespace Istio system that have exactly those names. It's not very clean, but I guess it would work. Alternative would be to just use the setup bash script that we have here and build a new version of the installer
Yep.
for 0.6.2, which might be something we should consider, because I think some people have run into that issue now with the reuse option.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
All right, if there are no more questions, these were my pull requests, and I'll hand over to Florian.
All right, thank you. Let me just share my screen. Okay, today I have 3 pull requests to show you. The first one, once again, refers to the configuration service. So let's first look at the issue for that. So we got the new requirement for the configuration service to be able to manage open remediation steps that are taken during a remediation workflow. And thus we needed a new endpoint to first create remediations and also to be able to retrieve and eventually delete them if a remediation has been finished. And this has been implemented in that pull request. So here we have the new endpoints, again with some example payloads. They actually look quite similar to the open approvals, if you recall that from last communities meeting. So I'm not going to bother you with too much details in terms of the JSON payload, but in essence, yeah, if you want, you can look at those examples. And of course, if you retrieve a service by the get service or as a part of of a complete project, in addition to the open approvals, you will now also receive the open remediations. And this will be used by the new remediation service that I'm currently working on. So this will most likely be presented next week to you. All right, are there any questions about that extension to the configuration service?
I would have a question. In which case do we want to delete the remediation? It's the things you showed, it's basically the entry in the database.
Yeah.
And when do we want to delete this entry in the database, or do we want to delete it, or it's just like
open remediations in case of a completed remediation workflow, because this object is only needed during the actual remediation workflow, but we will not lose data because we still have the events stored in the data store, and thus you will be able to get the trace for that workflow.
Okay, it's basically the stack that we have to work through to finally do the remedy.
Exactly. We're deleting it because we want to keep the payload of the materialized view response as small as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. The second issue I wanted to show you is related to the Keptn configure domain command. So here's the issue that was created by Christian. So basically what happened is when you have a Keptn installation with a certain domain and you expose the bridge, then the bridge obviously is reachable. But if you afterwards want to change the domain, for example, in that case, Christian switched from zip.io to nip.io. Yeah, so he entered that command, and afterwards the bridge wasn't reachable under this new nip.io domain. The reason for that was quite simple. It was because the existing virtual service or ingress has not been updated. So the host rule of that ingress or virtual service still contains the old zip.io domain. And in that case, the workaround is quite simple. So what you have to do, in that case, you just have to first execute configure bridge with the action lockdown. Then the existing virtual service or ingress will be removed. And then you can execute the configure bridge -- action expose command again. And then the bridge will be reachable as it was before. And hence we made it that way. In this pull request, we simply append those instructions to the output of the configure domain command. And of course, this is not 100% perfect, because we still would prefer to have all these steps done automatically. But I suggested to make this part of another issue, because in that case, the workaround was quite easy. And if you really want to solve this in a clean way, I proposed to move the configuration of the virtual service, etc., to the API service, similarly to the way we're doing the configure bridge command right now. Because right now in the configure domain command, the CLI does all the updates of the Kubernetes resources. And thus we will soon have a follow-up issue that will take care of exactly that.
Yeah, so the follow-up issue is still, it's been there, it's been written, but it still has to be decided on which action we want to take, but yeah.
Exactly. All right, and the third pull request I wanted to show you is a new Keptn contrib service. So this one is also a part of the reworking of the remediation we're currently working on. So the requirement here was to extract the feature toggle functionality that was previously done within the remediation service, and extract that to a new dedicated unleash service that will now take care of the feature toggling via an unleash instance. So basically we removed the function that is referenced here in the issue. So basically this function just is not available anymore because it refers to master. Basically what the function did is it retrieved the unleash credentials from a Kubernetes secret and then used the unleash API to toggle certain features that were defined in the remediation YAML. And this is now done by this new service, and this one reacts to the new action.triggered event that we're going to introduce in Keptn 070. And here is the pull request for the unleash service. And of course, if you are interested, you can browse through the code at github.com Keptn contrib unleash service. All right, and this service will be released together with Keptn 07. All right, are there any questions about that?
Not a question, but I have a very interesting side note on the unleash service, because today I heard that GitLab is using an unleash as default feature flagging mechanism. And I think there might be really cool use cases around that. And it's great that we have this service available.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to test in the next couple of weeks, because we are using GitLab. And
cool. Yeah, great.
Awesome. So that will
please let us know.
A lot of possibilities, I hope. All right. And with that, I will hand over to Ermin.
Thank you very much, Florian. I'm going to present you new feature in the bridge. Actually, first I will present you the pull request, provide possibility to notify user in bridge. And second, I will present that functionality with a combination of the issue notify user of new available Keptn Bridge in UI. So the idea that the pull request is about showing an information message in the bridge when so actually this is just the possibility to provide an information in the bridge. This can be either an error, warning, success, or just an information type. And this functionality will be used for the feature, which is still in progress, to notify the user of a new available Keptn Bridge in the UI. For this, we stored the latest bridge version in a version in a JSON file in our GitHub repository, and the bridge retrieves that when you enable that functionality and shows you the information on top of the bridge. And of course, I will present a short live demo. This is a bridge that is deployed on my demo cluster since this functionality is still work in progress. But now you have on the right top side, so in this header section, a user icon. When you click on that, you see the Keptn version and the bridge version that you're currently working with and is installed. So you can see I have Keptn version deployed that is not an official release, but and the bridge version is develop, so my development version, and initially the version check is disabled, so you have to enable it, and of course we provide also details about the data that are stored here and collected by Keptn. When you enable that version check, it will retrieve the latest version information from our GitHub repository and provide you with the information that, for example, there is now a new Keptn's Bridge in version 0.6.2 available. And we will, of course, provide also a link with instructions how to install that bridge or Keptn version.
Yeah, that looks really cool, Ermin. Just one thing. When you now open the user menu,
yeah, of course,
then there should be the text saying disable version check. And
there is one thing that you forgot actually. Also, when the version check is enabled, we still have to provide the reference to these details.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know, we can switch that. We can say by disabling this feature, we will not collect any further data. But still, the reference is very important, I think.
Okay.
Also, when the feature is enabled. So.
Okay. And did you see my note on the issue that for the documentation I have created a pull, not a pull request, a branch that already contains the documentation. No, further down. Please see the last up a little bit up.
Oh, this one.
No, when I go up a little bit. Here, please see the last commit in the branch, and that shows the documentation of this feature.
Okay. We can open it, of course. Or oh yeah, it will be available on the homepage. This is just commit.
Right. Yeah. Okay. This is just the commit and not available yet.
Of course. This will be available. The link might change. So I have here. The link as it is in the issue provided, but this link might change, and of course, as I said, we will provide the link to instructions on how to download or how to install the latest version. This is still work in progress since of course the state of this checkbox needs to be stored on the client side as a cookie, and there is yeah, still some functionality that I'm going to implement, and that's why I'm not presenting the pull request yet.
But I mean, I would have two wording issues. Can you please go back to the Keptn Bridge?
Yep.
So the verb enable, I guess it's not necessary because the toggle bar already shows me whether it's enabled or disabled.
Check. Okay.
I would call it just version check, like it is in the issue described. And the second point is not bridge related, but CLI related. We should streamline exactly this message by enabling this feature, blah, blah, blah. This also has to be included in the CLI, and we need this information in the CLI. So this is still missing. So we need an issue for this.
Okay.
But looks really great.
Thank you very much. And that's from my side for today. So I'm handing over to Andreas.
Cool, thank you. So this week I was working on defining rule-based access rules for our Keptn services. So here I only have a draft pull request yet. So, but the goal here is to restrict the roles which the services have to the necessary rights and roles. And as you can see here also is that we will formulate issues in all Keptn contrib and all Keptn sandbox repositories, how to define or how to set this service account. So probably in the next week or on Friday, you will get issues in all Keptn contrib and Keptn sandbox repositories, how to set this access rules. So this was the first issue which I'm still working on, and the second issue is action that started. So before executing an action, and remediation action, the service which executes the action should send out an action.started event, which informs the Keptn core that the action has started. So in my case, I implemented this for the Helm service already. And if the action matches the scaling action, which is implemented in the Helm service, I send out an action started event, and by this just inform Keptn core and that now the action will be executed. Okay, that's from my side. And next is Johannes.
Right. Okay. Yeah, first one. Yeah, last Friday afternoon, I felt the pressure to touch some code, and I took the issue that says that there should be a problem URL in a Keptn problem event. This was brought up by Rob and Adam. Both were working on a remediation use case where they needed to have the problem URL so that they have a backlink back to Dynatrace that directly points to the problem. And that, yeah, the proposal was to add this problem URL also to the payload of a problem event. And I did this by updating the Go utils and adding this property to the problem event data. Then I had to update the Dynatrace service to also take the problem URL and take it over to a Keptn problem. This is where the matching happens between the problem event and the internal problem. And the same is true for the Prometheus service. Yeah, also the Prometheus service has to do the mapping between the incoming and the forwarded problem event. I can now show you the pull requests. Let me take that one, the Dynatrace service. And in this screen, you should now see the payload of a problem event. And here is now the problem URL included. And this provides a nice use case for going back to Dynatrace and taking a look at the actual problem.
That's great. It's Rob.
Hi, Rob.
Yeah,
nice to see you.
No, that's great. And it's not, and I think just throw this out there. So in addition to the Jira service, folks that we also were using this in the, I thought in the notification service or wanting that for like the notification service too. Because I think what people were doing was constructing that URL with their own custom logic. So
yep. That's true. Yeah, Adam told me that he took the domain from or the tenant, and then added the problem ID, and so he created the URL. But actually, it's already there, and why not using the property? Okay. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Rob. I think it opens cool possibilities to build great use cases around that. And the second issue I was working on was a documentation issue because we missed the information.
That moment when somebody cuts out.
Sorry, my notebook blacked out. Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Okay. For some reason, I don't know why. Okay, yeah, to this issue, what I did is I provided instructions how to retrieve the API token, how to create a new one, and also how to reset an API token. And especially for creating a token, I had to take care of providing instructions for Linux and macOS as well as for Windows. Yep. All right, that's from my side. Can I now hand over to Christian to tell us about his work this week? Thanks.
You don't want to hear about my actual work this week, so I prefer to present about the Keptn stuff I did.
Related ones.
Yeah. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I was working on the allow to specify an upstream repository for existing Git projects or Keptn projects. For this, I created 2 pull requests. The first one was in the Keptn Go utils, where I first added an other function to actually doing put requests to the configuration service, because there were only for a post function available. And then I added the update configuration service project function to the project utils, and in the Keptn CLI adding the update command, then adding the update project command with all the stuff inside, the tests, unit test, and then I added in the configuration service to the Git Go file the add origin function, and for the so project handler, I added all the stuff which is necessary to update the project. And let's take a look, because I fixed my Minikube installation. So I have here my empty Git repository. I have created a project, project webshop, and now I'm trying to update the project. Hopefully it works. Update successfully.
Cool.
Now we should have here the files.
Nice.
Yeah, that's it. That's from my side.
Really cool.
Yeah, many people are waiting for this feature.
Okay. Part of Keptn 0.7. Do we already know?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, then it's again my turn. Well, from a roadmap perspective, the Keptn enhancement proposal that drives the roadmap is the implementation of the remediation service. As Florian mentioned, he's working on that and will show us the implementation next week. And when it's available, then the missing pieces are testing this guy and testing it in sense of building integration tests and also building a kind of end-to-end scenario with Prometheus in there. All right, then now it's time to take a look at the Kanban board. What I did this week is that I actually moved all issues that were now presented into the done column, but still we have 3 issues that are there and where I need at least a statement. To that one, I know that we are missing the final approval for the documentation, right? Is Christian still here?
No, Christian
he
had to
left.
leave, unfortunately.
Yep. Okay, then I think we are fine with that one. Then Andreas, what's the status on this issue?
So actually, this was addressed in the docu, as in the documentation. So I would say it's completed.
Okay, then I can move it over.
Yeah.
All right. And Ermin, this one is still open because we can't merge the pull request, because then we have a breaking change when we do that.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Then what's in the progress column? Yeah, Andreas and Thomas are still working on the airbag topic. Then notify user of new available Keptn Bridge. That was mentioned by Ermin in his presentation. Then I assume that you continue working on the environment screen when notifying the user is done. Right?
Yeah, I'm going to finish the notify user feature, and we are planning to provide an early access preview version of the bridge when that is finished. And then I'm going to finish the functionality in the environment screen. So the next one, which has a dependency on the switch to the public API.
Correct. Yep. All right. Then Florian, you're working on the remediation service.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's about 95% done, but it still needs some polishing, but things are looking good.
Okay, great. Yeah. Then we have here the Helm service that send action started. Andreas, you showed us that one today. Is that true?
That's true, but probably I forgot to move it. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah.
Then I have here one of my issues. It's providing instructions to configure remediation provider and to configure to create a remediation configuration. It's still in progress, but yeah, I have already written most of that. And at this point, I will also want to mention that I'm also writing a blog post about the new feature set in regard to remediation. And I assume that this blog post will be available by next Thursday. And this should also highlight how you can customize the use cases for your needs and the way then you can build remediation actions. All right, then let's just quickly scroll over the assigned ones. To the first one, Gabriel wanted to implement this one because he also brought that issue up and he want to give it a try.
Johannes, sorry for interrupting, but we have a question in the chat. Maybe Rob, if you want to just ask the question right away because it was regarding to the remediation service, but I just saw it, so we just talked about it.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt your flow, but yeah, so maybe this is just to Florian. On the new remediation service, what will it initially support in terms of kind of backends? Is there something like Ansible, that, you know, or ServiceNow? Is that going to be the first implementation? And then what is the roadmap for other things like that either you guys or others are in the community are building? Because I'm interested in specifically AWS System Manager down the road.
Yeah, so currently we provide, or we will initially provide the Unleash service, and also the Helm service will be able to execute a scaling action. But in terms of other services, maybe Johannes, you know more about.
I can take this one. I can also, no. Well, we are in touch with Gabriel, this person, and Gabriel wants to implement an action provider for Ansible, for this direction. Then a partner from Brazil also came to us and asked us whether he can implement an action provider for Rundeck. And we had a kickoff meeting with him, and he will do that for us. Then Abigail from CFA is taking an action on implementing Launch Darkly implementation. And what we have already in our contrib repo is a ServiceNow integration. I mean, this one needs to be updated for 0.7, but still we have already a working example there.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I will, right. I think that one's something I'm going to try to share back with both Atlassian because they have another form of automation. So maybe I could even work with Adam to, you know, build the service to hook into that because they have these whole remediated actions through OpsGenie. So
OpsGenie.
So, okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, so so definitely interested in the spec when that comes out. And that was kind of my question, like when is 07 coming out?
Yep. All right. Yeah, my blog post which also contains the spec and the spec changes will be available by next week, and the 0.7 release will be available end of June-ish.
Okay, that's awesome. That's great. Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, then let's go on. Well, Andreas, I think there happened a mistake, and we assigned you that issue, even though you didn't assign yourself or didn't commit to do that one. It's the implementation of the send action started event for the Unleash service. Can you do that one?
Yeah. So
all right. Thanks.
This is a small one. Actually, this is, yeah.
Okay, then I will move over the allow specify an upstream. I think there is still, I mean, there is not still the PR open, but the implementation is done and was shown by Christian today. All right, Florian, are you still okay doing the refactoring?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, then Thomas, what's your status on that one, on the bug?
Thomas is not here.
Okay, Thomas is not here.
As far as I know.
Okay, then I have one issue that should explain how to use Istio in Keptn. Well, I will not work on that one because we have discussions going on to actually rip out Istio from the Keptn ecosystem, and I don't want to do work that we will remove in the future. All right, then let's go over to the backlog. Or I thought that there was a question coming in. I think it's also time to take that one right now.
No question from the chat. You already addressed
okay.
all the questions.
All right. Then let's go to the backlog and let's talk about the issues that are going to be or they are ready to get implemented. The first one is the integration test for the manual approval use case. Christian pulled that one back to the backlog because he prioritized the work on keys. Is someone taking this one? Okay, then I think I will ask Christian because he has most experience in doing integration testing and so on. All right, then there are two bug. No, there's one bug related to OpenShift, to the OpenShift installation, because it does not allow to reuse Istio.
But Johannes, this is somehow similar to your documentation issue. If we decide to not install Istio in the Keptn installer, then this will not be needed anymore. So maybe we should also postpone it until we have this decision.
Yep, that's a good idea. I think we talked about that one this week, and for some reason I forgot to pull it out from the backlog. But let's take a look at the next one. Keptn Exposed Bridge is broken for installation for quality gates and gateway node port. Let me please open it.
I can quickly explain it. In our config map Keptn domain, we store the complete URL, including the port. And if you use exactly this string of the config map for an ingress, the ingress will fail. It cannot be applied. So the trick here is to filter out the port.
All right.
I would like to take that one because I made the change where I added the port to the config map.
Then you already know where to touch the code. Thanks, Florian.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but this now has to be implemented in the API, not the CLI.
Exactly, yeah. But this bug was introduced because of my change. So.
All right. Then the next one is related to the bridge. It's the button that should approve or decline an approval. Ermin, do you find some time to work on that one, or are the other two issues?
Yeah. You can assign it to me since the switch to the public API is already ready, and there is only a slight change to be done for the out of sync information, and that button is combined to the out of sync
right
information. Yeah.
Okay. Then we have one change or one feature for the CLI. It's enforcing the username and password when exposing the Keptn Bridge. Let me just go over. It's straightforward because for the command of Keptn configuring bridge action expose, we also now assume that there must be a username and a password. And in case the password is missing, then the user should be asked for the password. This makes sense because then we don't store the password in the history of the CLI. But still, for automation, we need to provide the possibility to add the flag to the command. All right, and it's not only an CLI issue. Also creating the secret for the bridge should be moved from into the API then we don't need the step of manually creating the secret. And last but not least, since we are now focusing on Spec topics. It's also a definition of then to consider to reconsider which rights need to be set. Okay, who wants to take this issue?
I would like to take that one.
Right. Florian. All right, then we have the MongoDB directory permissions causing API to fail. Yeah, this one was brought up by Adam, and it's kind of bug with already a deep dive into the problem itself. And unluckily, we don't have Christian here because he knows most of the details regarding this issue. And
the issue Reddit documents what has to be checked. So
okay. Yeah, has someone time to take that one? Otherwise, I would leave it in the backlog. Yeah. Then let's leave it there. And yeah, then we have one task regarding the upgrader. This one was brought up by Andreas. Maybe can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Sure. In the upgrader, we are currently upgrading all Helm releases to Helm version 3. And yes, this is the way to go, which we decided. But in order to inform the user that we are upgrading all Helm releases, not only Keptn releases, we have to add this into our documentation.
All right.
So therefore, this is a doc issue. It's
a doc issue. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the doc is kind of on my shoulder. Then I'm happy to take that one.
Thanks.
All right, and a couple of issues left. Then this one is for 100% CLI related when he wants.
Yeah, and Christian already mentioned he had to drop out of the call, but he's happy to take it.
Cool, thanks
Christian,
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's showing a warning when the GitHub stream is not set.
Yeah,
it's cool.
He just wants to promote his own new feature.
Right, that's true. Then he could say "made by." I mean,
yeah.
in the warning.
Please double check when you're reviewing.
Cool. All right, then we have one that is related to the bridge, is the highlighting of in the heat map. Ermin, what do you think? Should we leave it where it is?
Yeah, let's leave it in the backlog. I don't think that, yeah, we will tackle that one soon, but when we have finished the current topics,
Okay.
yeah, it's on the timeline, and it's actually not on the timeline. So, but it should be implemented soon. So,
okay, yeah. It's
yeah, let's leave it there. We have it in on focus. And
all right, and that one we already moved down because it depends on the decision how we are going to proceed with the installer. Cool, perfect. That was it for this week regarding the assignment of the new issues at the planning session. And yeah, I have here one additional note to mention. As I said at the beginning, no, I didn't say it at the beginning, but next time we will reserve a spot in this dev meeting to give the community the stage to bring in some concerns, some issues. And Gabriel wants to talk a little bit about his findings, his thoughts on using Keptn. He has some questions and he wants to share it with us. And therefore we will reserve about 10 to 15 minutes. Yep. And for going forward, the next meetings are on Thursdays, like they were originally planned.
Cool, awesome. Just one last note, if anyone wants to join today, 7 p.m. Central European summertime, there is the Cloud Native Manchester Meetup, and we are going to present Keptn there. So if you want to join, feel free to join us. The link is on the top of this, the meeting notes for today. And I think with this, if there are any more questions, just raise them or post them in the chat or raise your voice. Otherwise, thanks everyone for joining for today, and see you all next week. Have a nice evening.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, see you.
Thank you.